Welcome to another weekly webcast. Each week that Congress is in session, this may be the last one before we adjourn for the election. We still may be in session next week. If we're in session next week, I will do another webcast. I invite you to email. I'll soon answer questions that have been emailed in. You can see behind me the east front of the Capitol, and you can see some construction that is nearly completed. Capitol Visitor Center, which is mostly underground, but a 60% expansion of the U.S. Capitol. Very intriguing and very nice visitor center. As people are coming into the visitor center here in a few weeks when it opens, they will go just to my right. They will see trees that have been planted on the Capitol grounds since 1952, which was the 10th anniversary of the death of the Sullivan Brothers of Waterloo, Iowa. They lost their lives on the Juno, November 1942. The trees were planted in honor of them 10 years after their death. The Waterloo VFW was the instigator. There's a plaque that people will see giving all this information. Most Iowans know about the Sullivan Brothers. People that have studied World War II, they're very famous because 5 brothers, contrary to what the rules were at that particular time, made an agreement that they were going to serve together during World War II, that they would all be assigned to the same ship. That ship was attacked by Japanese and went down, and the 5 Sullivans all died at approximately the same time. These trees honor them, and I hope visitors coming to Washington, D.C. will have an opportunity to view. You will see the East Capitol grounds restored practically the way it was before the Visitor Center was put in place. I think it's very beautiful. And I hope you enjoy it when you come here. I also tell you about what's going on in the Senate this week. We're going to finish an important piece of tax legislation. Maybe for Iowans, 2 parts of it are most important. One, several thousand Iowans that would be hit by the alternative minimum tax if we didn't pass this bill will not be hit by the alternative minimum tax. And secondly, there's a lot of alternative energy stuff like for biodiesel and wind that are very important to Iowa. That legislation will come up. We hope also to get the disaster relief through, that's part of this bill, the tax bill provisions that are similar to helping business recover from the disastrous floods in Iowa, the same as we did for Katrina 3 years ago. It's been extended this year to include the recent Hurricane Ike affecting Galveston. And then we also, beyond this tax bill, hope to get the appropriations for the disaster relief for Iowa as well. And then the appropriation bills, we're going to call them a concurrent resolution because the separate appropriation bills are not going to be ready. So we're going to fund government beyond the election through a continuing resolution. And then hopefully, but I'm not satisfied that I know exactly how I'm going to vote on this legislation at this point, but at least when it gets out of committee, we're going to, and if it does get out of committee, we're going to consider the financial crisis on Wall Street. The suggestions have been put forth for that. So that legislation should finish us up until the election, and so we won't be in session next week. If we don't get that all done, we'll probably be back here next week. The questions that I have from the first are from David and Margie Lamars. Does Congress have the authority to investigate price gouging and collusion by oil companies? Yes, there are several committees of Congress that can exercise jurisdiction in that area, and there is a lot of investigation going on in that area. Most of it is being done, though, outside of Congress through the Commodity Futures Trading Organization, on whether or not oil speculation ought to be regulated, and I think it should be the same as corn and soybeans, as an example. The second question comes from Mrs. Toppler of Davenport. Do you feel Congress is addressing the issues most important to the American people? I believe energy is one of the most important issues to the American people. That's being addressed in a bill before the Senate today. And before the end of the week, I think an issue that's very important to Americans is the financial crisis on Wall Street that will be addressed. I have some mixed emotions about it, because we have Secretary of Treasury who knows all about Wall Street because he had a lifetime of work there, says that the ripple effect through the economy, if we don't do something about it, would be very great and impact not just Wall Street, but Main Street. And then I'm getting 70% of the calls that my offices in Iowa and in Washington, D.C. are getting are opposed to any efforts to help Wall Street. So I've got to balance those two different points of view. And it's very difficult to do. It's something I don't have to do probably until Thursday or Friday, but I may have to vote yes or no on that bill, and I hope to be ready for it. I think I'll be ready for it, but it's not an easy decision. So thank you for your email. If I'm not back next week with you, because we're not in session, I may be back a week in November when we have a lame duck session, but it's not certain we'll have a lame duck session. And if not, then I won't be back until January the 3rd on the webcast. But don't forget that I'll be traveling Iowa during that period of time, and I hope you have an opportunity to come to some of my town meetings, or that I'll meet you at some high school class I'm talking to, or some Rotary Club I'm talking to. Thank you very much.